Welcome to You Don't Know Ball. Today, we're going to be looking over our top 15 big board. The combine starts on Thursday this week. As always, if you don't know ball and want to know ball, be sure to subscribe, leave a like, leave a comment. Let me know who we missed on our list, who you have on your list. Let's get right into it. We're going to go from 15 down to 1. So, Dobbs, how we'll do this is probably I'll let you go first on 15, and then I'll go tell my 15 because our lists are different. So we'll just kind of compare and contrast who we have, why we have them there, give little spiels on why we have people at this point in our top 15 big board, and then we'll just go from there. So, Dobbs, who do you have at number 15?
All right, bro. Number 15, I myself have Jackson Powers Johnson. You're getting a guy 6'3", 320, just great size, bro. Moves grown men on film very consistently, great technique, good blocker in space. He loves finishing plays. It's always something I look for in linemen. It's like, are you just comfortable kind of half-assing the play if you're out of the play, or are you going to always find someone to attack even when you're basically completely out of the play yourself? He loves contact. Very physical blocker. He checks all the boxes for an interior lineman, especially from a size perspective. And I think you're getting a guy very, very pro ready. And that's always my thing, bro. When we're doing these top 15s. It's more like the highest floors, and then we're pushing like really high ceilings as we get further in. It's kind of like the best combination of both. You know what I'm saying?
I
It's
get
like the
it.
perfect combination of high floor and high ceiling. And that's why I was very comfortable. I'm like, Jackson Powers Johnson definitely fits almost right here in the middle of the top 32 prospects. So I'm very comfortable with him right here.
Yeah, no, Jackson Powers Johnson, in my opinion, he's definitely like you can look at like a Graham Barton or even a Troy Fontanu because of the fact that he is projected to play on the interior. But I think it's pretty clear that JPJ is like the top lineman in the class, and you get such a high floor. And I think, honestly, at the combine, he is going to really impress teams where you may see him taken anywhere from like 17 to 25. Like, I don't think he's making out of that first round. I think the hesitancy for me to put him in the top 15 is because the way I kind of looked at my top 15 big board is I looked at like who are the best players now and who could possibly accelerate to be even better. Like, I think Jackson Powers Johnson could be like a top lineman in the league. But I don't necessarily know if that's going to be right away when he comes into the NFL.
No, I feel that too. This is my thing too. And again, where I feel you on that. He can end up being one of these guys we look at where you're like, maybe he should have been a later first round talent, early second round. But if he hits his ceiling, I think he's one of these guys. I would even say like a Quentin Nelson, where you're like, I
Yeah.
completely understand why he went so early. You're like, maybe you feel
Or
like a
even
team
like
reached
a
on him initially.
Tyler Lindenbaum, like first round center, but he's a stud.
No, yeah, bro, we can name a lot of guys from the recent drafts. And that's why it's like, again, interior, very, very pertinent need nowadays, too.
Yeah.
The interior pass rush has never been a bigger thing from other teams. Right? And we're in this weird phase now where teams are getting guys that are dominant on the interior, and you got to worry about everywhere. You need a guy like JPJ in there. That's why I like him right here, right in the middle of the pack.
Yeah. So at 15 for me, I have Brian Thomas Jr. I think he is going to really impress at the combine. And the thing is, like, we saw last year, we saw like a lot of smaller guys go, like JSN. You had Jordan Addison. This year, like in the top, of the draft, you have Marvin Harrison Jr., you have Romo Dunze, you have Brian Thomas Jr. Like these are all first round guys, and they're all bigger body, a little bit different than what we had last year, outside of like a Malik Neighbors. But even he isn't like that super small guy. Like he's a little bit more built, kind of like a similar to a DJ Moore. But I just think like Brian Thomas Jr. has the upside, in my opinion, of a DK Metcalf. Like I think he can be that type of player, and he can be so complimentary to teams who don't have that big body guy. Like I honestly don't think he's gonna fall this far, but if he does, to the Buffalo Bills next to Stephon Diggs, I just think he provides a whole nother type of body for Josh Allen to throw to. And that's just one example of where he could be useful. He could also be good on the Chiefs. It's just a guy that can go up and get the ball. And Brian Thomas by no means is slow. Like Brian Thomas he's pretty quick. I mean, I wouldn't say he's going to run a 4.3. He may not be super fast, but he can provide that stretch the field and even like taking short plays and shaking defenders off him because of his size.
No, absolutely. So for me, bro, what I would say is I love Brian Thomas Jr.
Yeah, I was gonna
I
say
always
you're
say as
LSU
LSU
guy. What's
homer,
the scoop?
like I love him. So, but with that said, here's what I would say. I think what made me leave him out of my top 15, and again, like you're saying, I do agree. DK Metcalf upside if he can hit that upside. Back to the floor thing, though. I'd say at his floor, I could see him very much being just like someone else I used to love at LSU, but they had similar issues coming out, and it translated poorly for this guy. So, what I'd say is at his floor, I could see him being like Terrace Marshall Jr. Right? It was
Okay.
very similar roles in the offense at the time too. Just being that big body target. He's going to go up and get it against a smaller DB. He's going to win at the catch point. Now, what concerns me about him is really just two things. The two big concerns though. His route tree is really not that developed. He kind of is just more of a straight line, beat a guy downfield type of guy. And on top of that, his drop rate is near 7% if we're rounding up. It is if we round up, it is 7%. So that's where he is Terrace Marshall in that sense where it's like, yeah, he's gonna come down with like most of them, but every once in a while he's gonna drop a big one, and you're like, damn, we kind of need that one. Right. So again, he could end up easily being, I'm not even kidding when I say for sure a top 15, top 10 talent in this draft, DK Metcalf type upside. But at his floor, it was just more like when I round him out, he's going to come in a little bit lower on my board, but I completely understand why I got him top 15.
100%. At number 14, who do you have? This is kind of crazy. I'm not going to lie.
See, okay, and again, I'm already prepared for this one. And I think because a lot of people are gonna feel a lot differently than me, but I already have it prepared why I feel this way. And again, if anything, bro, he's actually been rising up my board through the process because initially I was actually much lower. Look,
Right,
the more I
right.
watch him, the reality is you're getting a guy who's 6'4", 230, very athletic, good outside the pocket. Um, why he's lower though than a lot of people would have might say on their board for me personally, it comes down to just bro, his accuracy outside the numbers for me is a little bit concerning. A lot of the times he kind of drives either a little too far, a little too low. What I love about him though is look, he does like to try to get the ball low. The release is super quick. That ball does zing through the air. Right, I do completely see the upside. He could be a top 5 player in the class, no doubt about it. Again, though, back to the floor thing, if he hits his floor and he's just not accurate once he gets in the league. And another thing about him that does concern me a little bit is he's definitely spotty when he's under pressure. Like there are some reps where he's absolutely delivering dimes under pressure, deep down the seam, right? Deep, even that one rep off his back foot, like a little outpost going like 40 yards, right? There's been some reps that are like very, very impressive, but then
Hmm.
also just the consistently where he just misses guys outside the numbers, it just rubs me the wrong way. That in itself is really just why I have him lower than some people is because me and my thing with you got to be able to drive that thing outside the numbers consistently. And that really for me is just the main concern with him and just the inconsistency under pressure. But again, back to like the ceiling and just the measurables itself. I mean, I can't have many lower than 14 on my board.
So here's what we'll do is like since I didn't have JPJ on my top 15 and you didn't have Brian Thomas Jr. So what we'll do is we'll each talk about our own picks for those. But if there's someone I have on my board that you also have on your board, regardless of the spot, we can just talk about them at one time so we don't have to keep going back and forth. So for me, I had Drake May as my third prospect, number 3. And I'll tell you why. I was watching more tape this morning and opposed to the other quarterbacks not named Caleb Williams in this draft class, I think Drake May, being so young as he is, I think he has like I'll just write I'll just read you kind of what I wrote this morning. So he says, May is a great athlete due to his size, build, but he doesn't have like that athleticism. Like he is, think about like the way I would compare him is like a smaller Josh Allen to like even and I don't want people to take this the wrong way because I think Drake May is a much better prospect. But like if you watch Trubisky's athleticism, Trubisky's actually a pretty good athlete. He just could never put it together on the field. And I would agree with you is like what I struggle with May is there's sometimes where he just throws the ball and it's just like, bro, what? Or like, where was that supposed to go? Like literally head scratching turnovers. And he can be productive with his legs, but I think sometimes some of the 50-50 balls that he throws would be picked off in the NFL. And I'm not saying that his receivers did him a lot of help, but like for example, like if you looked at the Miami game that they played this year, he was really inaccurate. And that's where I struggled is like some games he just couldn't put together the accuracy. And I agree with you when you're talking about putting the ball outside the numbers. Sometimes it just like didn't feel like he could get it there. And like even not that he couldn't get it there, but accurately. And something I struggle with too is I was watching some Jaden Daniels tape, and I don't think he has the strongest arm, but there was some reps where I'm like, Jaden Daniels is putting more zip on this ball than Drake May. Like, and Jaden Daniels isn't built like Drake May. So I think in the right system, Drake May can be a really, really good quarterback, and I think he can be like a franchise guy for a team. But I really do think that he needs to be put in a situation where he does have that time, he does have an alpha number one receiver, because it's like some of the mistake worthy plays that he made in college can really hurt them in an NFL level.
No, absolutely, bro. Absolutely. And like that's my main thing is like it's like you're spot on too about the Miami game. The Miami game was some of the worst tape he had this year. And that's my problem too is though there's a few games where it back to my original point, bro. I think it's like when he's under pressure and he's having to like really maneuver in the pocket
Yeah.
and still throw strikes, he doesn't throw that ball super accurately. Now, when his O-line is playing great ball and his receivers have time to get open, he's playing really, really good football. And you're like, all right, I love what I'm seeing. That's
Yeah.
the thing, though, is I think I was able to kind of like see through that discrepancy and then kind of like round out in the middle where I'm like, yeah, I like the upside, but that's the thing is if I'm being honest, and that's why I've been saying I'm very uncomfortable with the QBs in this class right now because guys like Drake May, where I love the upside more than other guys' upside, but I really don't like the floor per se more than some of the other QBs that I also like in this class. I've never been more troubled on a QB class outside of the number one because you already know how I feel about Caleb,
Right.
but it's like everything outside of Caleb, I'm really, really uncertain about because there are so many questions I have about all these other guys.
So what I try to do too is because when I watch tape, I'll try to watch a game from the beginning of the year, the middle of the year, and then the end of the year to kind of see like that progression. And honestly, I think Drake May played worse at the towards the end of the year. And like,
No, well, that's
go ahead.
Oh, I was to say, Bruno, I think you're spot on. And I think I wanted to say this because I left it out. Like where you were saying towards the end of the years when he was forcing those balls more than ever, where sometimes you're kind of thinking to yourself, like, why? Like you literally, like you're spot on. Like, why did you throw that? It's like we
Yeah.
would talk about processing with all these other guys, but there are times where I'm like, Drake May literally didn't process anything and just put the ball exactly where he thought it was supposed to be. And that's also another thing I really don't like about Drake at the moment is sometimes it's like he's a little bit too robotic in sense of I'm going to put the ball where it was supposed to be. And it's like, it doesn't always have to go that way. Like if the screen is dead, just throw it at the receiver's feet. If you know what I mean, if you're getting blown up, just throw it out of bounds. It's like sometimes he's a little too
Yeah.
rigid on like, this is where it needed to go.
I will say a little bit of an underrated part of his game is this isn't underrated, and I'll get to that in a second, but I do respect Drake May's willingness to stand in the pocket and take a hit. I don't know how well that's going to translate to the next level of the game because it's like you don't want to take those big hits. And like I don't know if you remember that hit he took from Cam Kitchens in that Miami game. He just got blown up like deer in the headlights type thing. It's like, bro, I respect you for getting right back up, but it's like you know, at the NFL level, there's always so many hits like that you can take. But an underrated part of his game is I don't think people give him credit for sometimes how creative he is as he's getting hit or as he's going down. He can find that running back. He can find that tight end that's going out to the flat and flip them the ball where he's able to make a negative play you know, positive. And he is able to scramble for sure, but he's more of a, you know, he's more of a like a I'm running. He's not really going to juke you out, make you miss. Like there are some parts on tape where he can do that, but overall, as an athlete, very impressive size and speed. But I just think he doesn't have that second level of speed that some of these top guys in the NFL have, which is fine as long as you're a mobile quarterback who can make it work. That's what matters.
No, you're spot on. I want to add to that too. I think also he doesn't really have that element either of like breaking the tackle afterwards, which would
Yeah, yeah.
we're gonna get to here. Like there are some QBs, you know, later in this class like that do have that ability. So that's where it's very interesting.
So my number 14, now that we're off that, I had JC Latham. I think Latham to me, just being one of the bigger, stronger guys in the class, I think he's just going to provide an NFL team with a lot of value. And I think as a prospect, it's going to be really hard to, I don't want to say I just think his floor is so high. His floor is so high, and it's like you have such a good pass protector. He can also run block, and he's so patient when he blocks. Like, I don't know if you got the same vibe from him, but like watching him, like whenever, even if there was a guy that came off, you know, came off the edge super quick, like he wasn't startled. Like he put his hands into him, he blocked him, he made it known that like, bro, you're not getting around, and he was so patient. He just never seemed startled. And especially in the NFL, that's going to be such a big thing when guys hit you with all these different moves for you to stay in your stance, be patient, not worried about getting beat like this, that, and the third, and just doing your job. And I think that's kind of what you get with a JC Latham.
No, 1000%. And like you said, bro, I'm going to save my spiel for JC because he's going to come up on my board eventually here. So you were spot on. I'll save my rebuttal for JC when I get to him eventually. But I'm with you 1000%. You're getting a super pro ready guy, super high floor. And without spoiling too much about my report about him, I'll just say, yeah, I'm with you 1000% where he's very patient because he kind of has to be with how big he is. But
Yeah.
that's the thing is
Six
he
six
plays
three
very
sixty.
he plays very well to his size. He's very intelligent. And again, back to the whole, you're getting very young player in the first round. Have
Yeah,
a plenty of
20.
time to mold him into 20, literally 21 on the dot. So it's like you're getting someone you can mold in. Yeah, and it's perfect. I think he would fit very well. He fits very well on any team early off the board.
You don't have him on your top 15 though, right?
No, I don't have my top
Okay.
15. That's my thing is when we get into these later episodes, the top 30,
We'll talk about
I'll
him.
have a whole spiel for you on him. So,
All right, who's at number 13? We have the same number
oh, right.
13.
Do we actually?
Yeah, we do.
I didn't even. Oh, okay. Let's go crazy, bro. Okay, so number 13, I got Jared Verse, and I think just I'll give my spiel quickly so I can pass it over to you too, so we can kind of go even on this one. But again, you're getting a guy with great weight for the position. I think and he has great size too. You know, if he was maybe an inch or two taller, I'd be saying you're getting into like elite size territory. But he's built well. I think from like a size and kind of play style perspective, I think you'd agree with me on this. He kind of gives you like Kayvon Thibodeau, like Kayvon Thibodeau vibes, where I think he's definitely going to project more to an outside linebacker role. Like definitely has to fall into the right team. Definitely's got to play on the right system. But he's got fantastic burst. He's violent. There are reps where he is just one arm, like just long arming dudes to the ground, and you're like, wow. I mean, this is a guy who's just a phenomenal athlete. Back to the high upside thing. The lower part about him is you're getting a guy that is already 23 and 3 months
Yeah.
in. But it's like, hey, at the end of the day, there are plenty of prospects that come in the league that are already older guys that end up translating much quicker because of that. So if Jared Verse can be one of those guys, I mean, I think again, you're getting a guy playing him on the edge on the NF 3-4, you're getting just great value in the first round. And there's a lot of things about him where on film he's not the most consistent guy in the world, but it's the upside that pushes him over the top for me, which is why he's in my top 15.
I think honestly that he can I don't want to say take plays off, but I think because he is such an explosive player, Jared Verse, like he's a quick bull rusher. Like he will run you over, but at the same time, when you're exerting all your energy on plays, it's inevitable that you're not going to be able to give 110% every single time. And I think that's where you see like him take a step back from a play. But some of the best players do that. That's not anything against his work ethic or motor, but you just have to know that like when he's coming at you, he's going to be very, very deadly, and you don't want to get overrun because I've seen him just run over dudes, and it's embarrassing. And this is where I think he'll translate to the NFL well. I think, and this is just a Bears analogy, if you're able to put him next to like a Montez Sweat, if he's able to be that 1B rusher or the 2A, you know what I'm saying? He doesn't have to be the top guy right away. I think you're going to see a lot of production from Jared Verse off the edge.
No, you're spot on. It's like what you're saying is I'll even give you like the comparison. I think if he can play like in an Alex Highsmith type role right away for himself, that's like perfect scenario where you're like you're going to be able to get sacks off the other guy, and again he's going to develop into his own. I think
Or like a
I
Will
really do
Anderson,
love
like
the
Jonathan Grenard scenario.
no, exact, bro, and that's another one spot on. I love the combination he has of power and bend. That's also what really like it makes me think that like yeah, the translation will be easier for him because he doesn't really favor one over the other. He definitely has both ends of it. He's definitely more of a power guy,
Right,
but
right.
again, you can see the finesse ability and like the versatility. So I couldn't have him out of my top 15.
Sometimes when he gets through that line, it's just so fast, and you're just like, how are you this big and are able to do that? It is truly incredible, and I think a lot of people may have him lower because I don't want to say his bag isn't deep, but it's definitely not like a super deep bag. He definitely relies on
It's
like
like
power and
mid-level.
speed. Yeah, yeah, that's a good way to put it. So
But yeah, no, I don't want to seem like I'm gassing his bag. It is definitely like nothing insane, but what he does do well. And again, I think it's more than anything, you're seeing you have a guy where he's an athlete where you can look, he's gonna be able to put together new pass rush moves, new combos. He's
right,
get him around the right D line coach. You have a guy you can really like morph.
right, 100%. At 13 or 12, who do you have?
All right, bro. Number 12. We're different on this one, right?
We are different on this one.
Okay.
I
At
have him
number
at
12, I
11.
got my guy right here, bro. Dallas Turner. And I think what pushed Dallas Turner over Jared Verse for me was like you're getting guys that are like very similar. I think Dallas Turner has more. Number one, he's much younger. Let's start with that. Like you're getting a guy already almost 2.5 years younger. Um, Similar measurables in terms of height, but then Dallas Turner is a little bit like, he's weighs a lot less. You're getting a guy 18 pounds less, actually. So I do think he's going to come in the league, probably have to put on a little bit of weight. But either way, there's similar another 3-4 rusher here. You could put him on a 4-3 line, but I think he's going to fit best on a 3-4 line. He's interesting though, because Dallas Turner rushed on a 4 down line a lot this year and still was very productive. So I do think you can, that's why I love about him more too, is you could fit him on either type of line. But Dallas Turner is more instinctual, I would say. That's what pushes him over the top for me. He jumps at balls a lot more when he's out of the play. He's always has his hands up. He's definitely much more patient in the run game, kind of setting himself up off blocks and making sure he's able to push forward, if he's getting behind the play and get back into the play. Just yeah, more than anything, because they're similar. Like Jared Verse, Dallas Turner, right? Two guys where it was kind of hard to like where I was going to rank them, but it's just the instincts for me that pushes Dallas Turner over the top. And you're getting a guy with 2.5 more years of time per se, because that obviously that's not necessarily true, but just to put it into a simple perspective. And yeah, I mean, I think that Dallas Turner has easily upside to be the best pass rusher out of this class. It's just
Mhm.
a matter of like, right, we'll get to my other guys later, but
He definitely is like a freak athlete. I think one thing, a term that people use for corners a lot, in a different sense that I'll use for Dallas Turner here, is he's very sticky. Like once he gets his arms around you, like once he wraps up, I rarely see ball carriers get away. He is just one of those guys who's going to finish those plays. He is very high motor. And yes, he played on Alabama, obviously one of the best teams the in college football. But at the end of the day, it's not like something like a quarterback coming out of Alabama where it's like you have the best line, you have the best receivers. Like he's still going to get his, like based on how he plays. And Dallas Turner, I think on the right team again will make a lot of teams very happy. And like you said, he is younger. You can develop him. He still has time. So I think if the right teams takes him, and after the combine, there's a chance that he's higher on this list.
no, absolutely. And another thing I can't believe I forgot to point out that I really want to point out about him. This is like it's really his like number one thing. I mean, this really is, if you're looking at him from a scouting perspective, it's the thing that really, really stands out. His pass rush win rate is 19.6%. I mean,
That's
again, if
elite.
we're rounding up, he's winning 1/5 of the pass rush reps. And right, and getting to the QB, I mean, it's not easy to do. I think, and if we're going to talk about the concerning measurable too, again, I'm always going to be honest about, right, what's the low point? Right, his run stop rate is only 4.2%, which is not the greatest in the world. Which is why I said again, I think when he comes in the league, if you're going to be a D line coach, you're going to say, I'm going to put a little bit of weight on this guy. I think I want to get you a little bit bulkier,
He does
but you
have to,
have all the
yeah.
skills that I need. And it's like you're going to translate just fine. It's just maybe a little bit of just bulking you up. Like you have everything else I love.
Does he remind you of Daniil Hunter at all?
Uh, Kind of, but I'd say like he's more like I think he's an interesting player, bro. He's kind of like in a weird sense because I don't think he's not going to run as fast at the combine. I think because he was special. He's like a combination of a Defe Owe and somebody else, and I don't know who the somebody else is, but that's my
Hmm.
thing is he's definitely he's a freak like you said off the edge with the speed he's going to have. I mean he's one of these new age pass rushers.
Okay, gotcha. At number 12, who do you get? Or God, I did that again. At number 11. By the way, before we get in there, I had Dallas Turner at 11.
Okay,
So actually, let me do
okay,
my 12 because you don't have him on my list. I have Quinyon Mitchell. I think Quinyon Mitchell is going to be a very, very good corner in the league. I think he excelled in man coverage, and I think we saw that. I mean, he put up great numbers at Toledo. And I think when we saw the Senior Bowl, the way he played in man coverage was so, so, so good. so sticky, attached at the hip to these wide receivers, and truly going to be in the argument for cornerback 1 or 2 because I think a lot of people are putting Terrion Arnold as the CB1. I don't know who you have as CB1. I think I see it on the list, but we'll talk about that later. Terrion Arnold obviously is a very athletic guy, very young as well. But I think Quinyon Mitchell can immediately come in and just be that kind of. He's like one of those guys that you just want to go up against in terms of like that it's going to be rough all day. Like you're not going to get that separation much on him. And I think that'll frustrate a lot of receivers. I've seen some mocks with him going to Philly, and I honestly think that would be a perfect spot for him.
No, it would be the perfect spot, but I'm gonna be honest with you, bro. I don't think he's gonna fall either because this is what I want to say to add on to why I don't have him as high as you do. Because I want to be clear, the film is top 15. I really am just waiting for a guy like you. We talked about this before. You already know when you come from a smaller school, I definitely want to wait to see the measurables because it's then the combination of like if the measurables translate to the film, then I'm all in. But if the measurables are lacking in certain areas, I'm going to be a little concerned about the translation. But I agree with you completely. I mean, like the film is spot on. I love the Senior Bowl tape. I really do just want to wait to see how he measures out and how he rounds out at the combine. But again, from a tape perspective, he was cornerback 1. It's what I want to say is interesting. And we're right. You're right. I do have a corner higher on my board, but I'm going to get to him in just a sec where I think where you're going to see why I'm saying what I'm saying. It's all going to make sense.
All right, now you can go ahead with that corner at number 11.
Okay, so the corner I have at number 11 is Cooper DeJean, but that's the thing is I want to make this where I want to specify this right away. Let's get this right off the table. He's my cornerback 1, but truthfully, the more I watch him, because I know initially I didn't say this, but I'm going to say it now. I'm definitely leaning much more on this boat the more and more I watch Iowa's defense. He's for sure a top 15 player in this draft, top 15 player, top for like one of the best defenders in the class. But I don't know if I translate him out to corner in the league. Like I do think I probably do translate him more to like a strong safety role. I think he would be excellent on in a strong safety role. I think sometimes he is a little bit like he moves his hips really well and he is an agile guy, but his like catch up speed and like makeup speed is sometimes very like evident on tape where if he gets out of position, he's not able to get back in position quick enough just with these faster receivers. And meanwhile, when you have him in zone and when you have him kind of like where he is coming to play the run and you can just play him in the box and have him as an extra like a nickel dime defender, he is lethal in that role where teams are not going to be able to run the ball successfully. He's always going to blow up his guy. He's very smart. He stays in position. He's a great second level defender. And I even kind of played him like weird situations a lot this year, like even like kind of a linebacker role where he played dominantly. Like he was never looked out of position. Right, as a punt returner, I mean, literally returning kicks on guys, we're doing spin moves. I mean, he's a pure athlete, bro. It's just more a matter of I don't know if he's a corner in the league. I do believe he's a top 15 player in the draft, however.
I think I don't have him on my board, so we'll talk about him more like as we get into our bigger boards. I think a lot of people are asleep on Cooper DeJean. I just looking at my big board, if I'm going to base it off what I think they're going to accomplish in the league and how good like they can be in the league, I would take the guys I have on there before Cooper because I think Cooper is going to be a really good player. I just don't know how much more of an impact he would have on than the guys I have in my list. I definitely think he's a first round pick though, and definitely argument. You could make the argument for like one of the top 2 DBs in the class.
No,
So
absolutely, bro. He's a ball player. He's definitely a ball player.
at number 10, who do you got?
I think I got him a lot higher than a lot of people, but that's why personally, bro, I'm just shocked at this. So I got Latu, and my reasoning isn't anything crazy or anything. I mean, he's just from a film perspective, bro, you're getting an absolute all-star player. It's just
Right.
we're only really concerned about the health, right? I mean, he's 6'5", 265. We're a little concerned about the age, I'll say. Okay, 23 in a month. I mean, you're getting an older prospect. But again, he was medically retired for 2 years, so he wasn't going to come out young. And again, so the health is really the only thing you're concerned about. Minus that, bro. I mean, the technique, the pass rush bag is so deep. He has so many moves, and he dominated versus almost all competition this year. So it's like he's almost a no doubter if he can just stay healthy. And if he was someone that was healthy his whole career, I'd have him no doubt or higher on this list. I felt even at 10, it's almost like with the tape he put out this year, I felt I even had him a little higher than I would like, but it's like that's why I'm a little confused why maybe I'm so much higher on him than other people are because it's like this is a guy where it's like the film just speaks for itself.
I don't have Latu on my list, so I'll wait to talk about that until, like I said, our bigger board. But I think a lot of people are scared away with the medicals. But what you had to say is he probably has the deepest bag out of all the edges that we've talked about so far. And he's much more of a finesse, like bendy rusher than the other two. Latu, I think, is going to impress a lot of people at the combine. I know we say that at about everyone on this list, basically, who's going to be performing at the combine. But these are the guys that really move. Like, this is where the guys make their money, right? Because every pick you move up in the draft, you make more money. So if you're able to even impress enough where you move up 3 spots in the draft, you've made yourself a couple million more. And that is what Latu can do. I think the medicals scare a lot of people, but let's say the medicals come back good. He's impressed at the combine. He is definitely someone that could take, the edge one role in this draft.
No, I mean that's where it's like for me personally, it's like I don't even have it as a question right now. Where that's what I'm saying. Like I'm looking over the medical stuff. I'm literally just looking from a film perspective. And back to like this is my thing. Not even just this year, bro. That's where it gets even kind of crazier. It's like not even just this year does he have the deepest bag. He has the deepest bag of moves I can think for a pretty long period of time from edge rushers coming out of college. I mean, this is a guy where you're like, wow, he's pro ready for sure. It's like literally only the health that I'm
I think
worried
the
about.
age too, because it's like, how much are you going to develop? I mean, obviously you're going to develop them, but like develop them more than Dallas Turner can be developed.
No, that's true, but that's what like that's where it's like from a pass rushing perspective though, he's already so much further down the line. You know what I'm
Right,
saying? It's
right.
like that's where it's like he really is. I mean, he's a dominant player on film. That's where I'm just saying like I'm beating a dead horse, but I'm only concerned about the health. If he can stay healthy, I have no doubt you're getting an all pro type talent. I mean, type of, that's the first guy I will say on this list that I am like, wow, he's a certain almost all pro talent. If he can just stay healthy and go to the right team.
At number 10, I have Terrion Arnold. I think this guy is probably going to be one of the most sought after corners in the draft, strictly because of his age and how much he improved throughout the year at Alabama. I think at the beginning of the year, you saw that his athleticism kind of was the main part of his game that he really relied on. And as the year went on, you see him, picking up on those mistakes and improving and becoming a better corner overall. His athleticism is crazy. I believe he's only 20 years old. And if you were to be able to, I have no doubt that he can be a alpha cornerback one in an NFL team locker room. But imagine putting him next to like a Pat Surtain. That team in a year, like Sharon Arnold is going to take like a year or two to become like what he really is going to be, even 3 years to be what he's really going to be, as all these players do. I just think he's a little bit rawer than some of these other guys, but there's so much upside to him. He's such a great tackler, and the way he uses his athleticism, he's not afraid to lay down a hit. Like he doesn't shy away from that stuff, and I think that's really important, especially when it comes to corners.
No, I was gonna say that's my first thing I really love about him is that and I've said this every year is like when I'm projecting corner, I'm always looking at the guys that are not afraid to get their hands dirty. Like that's always what that is always going to translate. Like if you're a corner that's afraid to go like right, lay your shoulder down and go blow up a play when you have to, you're not going to translate more often than not, unless you're absolutely fantastic in coverage. I mean, that's the thing is. We're Tyrion, like to your point, he's so young, he has so much room to mold, and he's not going to be who he's going to be for a couple years. And he still is very like inconsistent in man coverage. You're definitely not getting like the most like polished player, but back to the point of so much upside, so much room to grow, and he's not afraid to get his hands dirty, and he's really good in zone. So it's like we already have 3 of the 4 boxes checked. We're gonna get him better in man. We're gonna get him more acclimated, right? He has time to grow, like we're saying. I love Terry Arnold. I'm gonna get to him more when he comes up on my board. And like I said with corners, I'm kind of just waiting more to see the measurables
Yeah.
at the draft because or at the combine because it's
He's
hard to
not
get
the
all 22
biggest
and type of
guy.
things like that with corners. It's like, it's harder to project corners until I can really see like the measurables of the combine.
Right.
But yeah, exactly. And he's not the biggest guy either. Him and Quinion are like the exact same measurables, just like so far. But yeah, I do like Quinion a little more. But again, with Terrion, I mean, so much room to grow, so much room to develop.
Yeah, with Quinyon, you're definitely going to get more of that man with Quinyon. So I could see why you'd like him more. I just think Taron Arnold doing it at the SEC level, I think is a little bit more important personally to me.
No, no, I agree with you completely on that though. That's why I said too. I'm really waiting on the combine for the corners.
Right. At number nine, who do you have? So, for number nine, we both have people that we don't have at our list. So I'll just let you go and then I'll go.
So okay, that's hilarious. All right, I didn't even notice that, bro. So for me, and this is where I'm getting shocked. Like I do think this is going to be someone who's going to rise up my board even, bro. Call me crazy, a little bit more here as we go along. I mean, bro, Byron Murphy the second, just, a humongous human being. Let's start with 6'1", 308. He has really, really good measurables that are going to translate where he's not the tallest guy, but he's so big. He has fantastic punch. I mean, 19.6% pass rush win rate, nearly a
Elite.
10% run stop rate. Elite
For
numbers.
interior D
I,
linemen,
I
that's unheard of.
no, it is. And just the way he can play off of double teams. I want to see him out there more, but again, I think it's also like when you're on a Texas D line, there's a lot of talent. They want to rotate guys. It's kind of just how it goes. But when he was out there, man, he was really out there doing his thing. There's zero doubt about it. Byron Murphy is going to translate. It's just, I would prefer to see him on a 4-3. I think that maybe the translation will take a little bit longer if he ends up on a 3-4 team, but he projects to me either way, certainly where he's going to dominate no matter where he ends up. I do personally want to see him on a four-man D line, though. But that's just me being, that's just me like giving my projection of where I want him. He's going to work out no matter what from a size, technique, everything else perspective. The more I watch him, I'm kind of like, you're maybe getting a Chris Jones caliber player, certainly if he can just, again, back to just staying healthy and all that. But I love what I know about him already. And I think he's going to keep rising up my board.
I don't know if you've gotten to his tape, but let me ask you this. What makes you favor you mean Byron Murphy, right? Not Byron Young?
Yeah, I don't know why I said Byron.
No,
Dude,
you're
I'm
good. I
still
just want
going
to
through
make
this phase
sure.
where for some reason, I still like call him Byron Young every once in a while. I don't know
No.
why. Like, yeah,
So why do you favor Byron Murphy over like a Jerzon Newton?
just like, okay. And I'll say that just simply. Both great interior rushers, but Byron Murphy, when he violently wins a rep or violently wins a double team, just the technique he uses to get off of it just is so much more violent, so much more quick, and his get off is just a lot more elite, in my opinion. That's what pushes him over the edge for me.
Understood. Okay, so at number nine, I have Jaden Daniels. So this is
Ooh.
bro, I still think Jaden Daniels can be like really good in the league. I think he was a late bloomer, and this is kind of, and as a LSU guy, I would love like your opinion because this is kind of what I struggle with. He is so elusive in the pocket and his straight line speed is very, very quick. For some reason, he loves just taking gigantic hits. He somehow always winds up taking a huge hit and being a more skinny frame. I don't know how long that's going to go along. He needs to learn to slide or just get out the way. But something I kind of struggled with him is in watching his games, he was very electric as a runner. But for a lot of the time, I was struggling to find like a wow play with his arm. And I also struggled with sometimes like it didn't seem like he'd hit very tight window throws. Like he always struggled with the tight window throws. And when he was completing passes, his guys were kind of wide open. But then even sometimes when they were wide open, he would throw behind them. So I think for the team that has a good offensive line and weapons, it could make it work because he is a legitimate weapon on the ground. I just don't see him even close to Maye or Caleb Williams in this draft.
No, bro. I mean, yeah, again, as an LSU homer, like he is such a weapon, bro. Like such a weapon. So many things I love about him, like on the ground. And it's just he's an athlete for sure. What concerns me, and again, he'll be coming up soon on my board. It's not like I'm gonna have him far out. But it's like all the points you nailed. It's short accuracy, medium accuracy. He tends a lot of times to either put it like a little too low, a little too behind the receiver, or a little too high and out front of him. Where it's like I just want to see more consistency, just putting it right in their lap where they can move and they don't have to adjust to the ball. And then to that point where I'm going to tie it together. This receiving core was so good at catching the ball
Brian
off
Thomas
structure and off
Jr., Malik
platform.
Neighbors, yeah.
It's like you have, yeah, he had such a very good core where it worked like that. But it's like that is the difference between him and Joe Burrow's core and this core is like Joe Burrow complemented them so well in terms of like the ball was always right where it needed to be. It was always like very well in synergy. I'd say like this duo was, or no, this trio was like, it was held much more up on the receivers because they were making so many plays that where the ball wasn't in a perfect position. And that's not a knock. Like again, I love Jaden. He'll always be one of my guys, and I do think he can translate off the athleticism. But I agree completely. Not that many wow plays from the arm. And when I'm evaluating quarterback, it is definitely going to be the number one thing I'm looking for.
Right.
Again, fall into the right system though, in a read heavy offense. I think it'll work. To the extent of how far it'll work, I don't know.
I
But I do
just,
think he's
yeah.
a first round talent. It's just a matter of like he's very much has to fall into the right team in the right situation.
Yeah, I struggled a lot with the arm thing because it was just, dude, you're playing quarterback, and I'm not saying it didn't work at LSU. It did. But when you go to that next level, they're going to start to spy you a lot. And when you start getting spied, you're going to have to make some stuff happen with your arm. And if you're not able to figure that out, I don't know. Like even some deep balls that he missed, I was just like, he's wide open, man. Like, come on. But I still think he's a first round talent. I think if there wasn't like a quarterback tax where these guys go probably about a half round earlier than they should, he would be in like the 20s range. I don't think a top 5 pick is really his value.
No, it is. It's the quarterback tax, bro. You're spot on about that.
At number 8, who do you have?
I think because this is one where I think it's probably pretty average though. Like I either probably have him a little bit lower than some people or a little higher, but it's probably
Yeah.
like right on where a lot of people have him. I love Olo Fashanu right here. I think you and me both have loved him the whole process. And it's not even like I have to talk about him too long because it's actually a very simple recipe with him, right? I mean, you're getting a guy who's very young with incredibly elite size for the position, and he just glides. I mean, it's like for his size, you watch him play and you're like, man, can this dude move? Man, can he reset? Man, can he, he has it all from the athletic perspective. From a technique perspective, you definitely look at him and you're like, yeah, we got a lot of growing to do. But that goes back to the whole like the age, right? We have plenty of time to do it. And his athleticism is surely going to translate to the league. All right, I think if you goes to like a zone run heavy team, he's just going to be able to dominate. Just get him down the field, just get him moving. He's already a very solid pass protector. Again, back to he has room to grow in that area and a lot of room to grow in the run game. But either way, it's like the upside is so high for the age and size combination. And at his peak, I mean, you see like he really you can ask him to do a lot off the edge, and he's able to do it because that athleticism. So I'm comfortable having him right here at number 8, right in the middle of my top 15.
So I have Olu at 7. So right around the same area. I think he's probably the best pure pass protector in the class. And the reason I say that is because I think the guy I have above him is better all around. But from pure pass protection, I think Olu's the best. What I struggled with is he's not like the most smooth mover. So like when it comes to that run game, I think he struggles a little bit. I'm trying to, yeah, okay, this is what I had. So like when he goes to the second level to block in the run game, he kind of like gets ahead of himself where he'll miss the block. Like he goes too
That's why I'm
deep
saying
in the
he's
second
gliding.
level.
When I say he's gliding, I want to be clear. He glides too much.
He does have really good leverage though when it comes to pass protection. Like he gets down where like a guy isn't really going to bull rush over him, and he is 6'6", 317. So there is possibility that he puts on like a little bit of weight at the next level. I don't know how much he would, but he's definitely one of the smaller guys in terms of weight from the top tackles. But overall, he doesn't have the quickest first step, but I don't think that's necessarily like the worst thing in the world. I think he's definitely like a top 2 tackle in this class, though.
No, that's you're no, and I want to say like to that point of the first step thing, I agree completely. But that's where it's like his ability to like restack and reset off of even making like a misstep, or he just when he gets himself out of position, he's so athletic, he really can find a way to get himself back in position. It's kind of hard to explain unless you've watched a lot of him. But if you know what I'm talking about. Anybody that's watched a lot
Yeah.
of him, you know what I'm saying. It's like yeah, you're very confident in the athleticism translating. And again, you have a lot of room to grow with him. That's where it's like the upside on the tape is so high, but then you're like, yeah, we definitely got a lot of work to do. But it's like get him around the right O-line coach, and you have an absolute stud, potential all-pro type guy, no doubt.
He definitely does get beat around the edge a lot from what I was watching. The thing he was struggling with the most, I can't remember what game it was, but there was some spin moves that they were just eating him up with the spin moves. And I think he figured it out later in the game, but I was like, oh man, they're killing him with this. But it wasn't egregious. It was just like, oh, he lost a step there. But for my number 8, and then if you want to talk about him, because I see him on your board as well, I have Rome Odunze. I think Rome is a really, really good player, and I think he's a top 10 talent in the draft this year. Why I have him probably lower than other people do is he's big, he's quick, but I just don't see like the top like five ceiling for him. Like, for example, like with the rest of the guys I have in this big board, I could see them being top five at their position. I just don't see that for Rome. I think he's a great receiver. I think he can be a great complement to a guy to teams that are needing a big body receiver. I just don't see like the top five potential for this guy. Maybe top 10, top 12. Definitely. I think what he did at Washington was exceptional with Michael Penix Jr., and I think he's going to be very impressive at the combine. But I struggle to see like that top five talent with him. How do you feel about him? Because you got him here at 6.
So well, this I was gonna say like so I want to like I like understand where you're coming from. That's the thing. Like I completely understand where you might not see like that. Right, the upside is like the highest in the world because there are certain things about him where yeah, like he gets pushed very high on when he like those contested catches that he can make and the body control he has. It's like yo, like this dude can win any catch if he has to. It's like I mean that's what really surges him for me. I'll say this though. I don't think he's anywhere near. I can't even say anywhere near, but he's not that same elite route runner as the guys that I have above him. Like he doesn't have that same elite route running.
Like he's
He's a good
relying on
route
his
runner.
physicals, basically.
Yeah, like I want to be clear. He's a good route runner, right? Like he moves quick. He's good at getting off the line. Like he's got a good release package. I really do like that about him too, which is another thing I would say kind of pushes him higher, right? Like a little higher than you have him. I can see him being a top five, top 10 guy at the position. I'll say this. That's why I do have him a little higher is because this is a very unique class, though, where the top three receivers in this class are truly like, yo, if they all pan out, these could all be 1,200 plus yard receivers in the league. It's just a matter of, again,
Right.
more than anything, staying healthy, getting to the right team. But, and that's the way that it's set up for them. They could all end up definitely being like number ones, number twos at worst on the team that they get drafted to first. So they all are going to have a high target share when they come in. I mean, it is definitely Rome's a guy who gets pushed higher, definitely more off of just the splash plays he can make but his splash plays are so much, I'll say it for a lack of a better word, splashier than other guys, where it's like you see, like, yo, you're getting a pure athlete. You're not worried at all about the athleticism coming in. It's more just, yeah, I want to see you develop that route running. I want to see you be a little choppier, but everything else about you I love. And so I got no problem. Yeah, I had no problem in moving him just slightly outside of the top five, which is weird. Normally, I wouldn't, me, I would never have three receivers because I'll spoil it a little bit. I do have three receivers coming up here in this top 10, where it's like normally that would never be the case. But this year is just unique, where it's like these are three just potential world beating type receivers.
Yeah, I think my thing that pushed him a little bit further back was when I look at Marvin Harrison Jr. and Malik Neighbors, I just think their bust rate is a little bit lower than I can see with Rome. Like Rome to me has a little bit more of a bustability, which scares me a little bit in putting him up there. And I think that kind of rolled into like my ranking of him almost at the 10 mark. So at number 7, I don't have this guy on my top 15 board. He was really close, and I didn't know where I wanted to put him. But you have Talisa Fuaga.
So because I could go on for a minute about Talise. I'll narrow it down to just a few things, right? Like what I love so much, why I think I have him like higher than most other offensive linemen on this board. It's like I have no doubt you're just you're a violent individual in the best way possible. Like you love contact, you're going to seek it out. You're always looking to make a play at the next level. Again, back to like even if you're out of the play, you're just looking for who am I going to come make contact with next? Who am I going to make whose day am I going to make a little bit worse? Right? Like he's very quick off the line. Like for his size, his kickback, like his first step, his ability to push a defender and then get to that second level, he does it so quick for how big he is. He does very much remind me of Penei Sewell. Like he's a very like similar prospect to me. The way that they move, the way that they play, just absolutely. I mean, for the way some other scouts said it, that I would think say I'm stealing his words. I don't remember who it was, but it was the best way to say it. Like for a college athlete, you're going to struggle to find anybody that can like move college defenders at a more just ferocious, fast pace than this guy. And this thing is, oh, well, if you're going to ask yourself, is it just college? Is it going to translate the next level? That's what really, the next thing is what really pushed him so much higher for me is because if you go watch his tape against Latu, this is a guy that for sure won the matchup against Latu. Like watching him against Latu, you're like, oh man, like Latu's a grown man, but this dude is just out here pretty much dominating this matchup. Call it for what it is. Like when I saw that, I was like, oh, I have no doubt he's going to translate and potentially translate into a dominant offensive tackle like the second he gets into the league. Again, he's so you could play him tackle, you could play him guard. I'm personally keeping him at tackle, but if you move him to guard, I also completely see the vision, and that's where it's too. It's like huge versatility. I couldn't have many lower than 7 for me personally.
Yeah, I think he might be the best run blocker out of these tackle classes, strictly because of his violence, and he's a mauler. And I know some people project him to inside. I think he should at least. I think he should try his chance at tackle. I think he can be a tackle in the league. Where I struggled with him, and maybe this is nitpicky, I don't love his frame. I wish he was like a little bit wider, you know? Like I think he would have a little bit more like balance if he was a little bit wider. And he is 6'6", 334. So what I had is you know, in the Oregon game, I put that he rarely got beat inside, but a speedy rusher can get him on the outside. But I didn't ever see him get overpowered. That was the big thing, is I never saw him get run over. And he does have like good recovery speed if he does happen to get beat. And I watched a decent amount of games, and that was one thing that I think we can give to him is I never saw him get overpowered. Like regardless of what he was doing, even if he was getting beat, no one was running over him. No one was pushing him back into the quarterback. And I think that is such a big thing, especially when you're going to be going to the NFL level where these guys are so much bigger, faster, stronger.
No, absolutely. And like to your point of, I agree. Like if you're gonna beat him, you're gonna beat him off of like deep off the edge. But that's the thing is what I want to say is where if you're like to that point, if you're gonna pick a position where you're gonna get beat as an offensive tackle, and that's the best area to get beat in because more often than not, you have to overset on him so much to like get around his shoulder that at that point, if you're the quarterback, it just allows you to kind of step up and find your guy that way. Now, again, that goes back to there has to be quarterback tackle cohesion going on. But it's like, you know what I'm saying? It's like if you're going to get beat and you know he's your tackle and he's going to get beat, it's going to take at least 2 or 3 seconds because you have to overset so much on him that it's like even when he's getting beat in a position that took a long time.
100%. At number 6, I had Brock Bowers. You had him at number 5. I think the Brock Bowers conversation is really, really interesting because he definitely can be like one of the best tight ends in the league because you can play him in the slot. He's an aggressive player. He's really good at the catch point, but he is a little bit undersized. And if you take him in the top 10, he's going to be one of the highest paid tight ends coming off the board. And at the end of the day, if you look at it, if you value like rookie contracts, this is not like the cheap route to go, especially for a tight end. But when you look at what Brock Bowers can do for your team, imagine Brock Bowers with T. Higgins and Jamar Chase on the Bengals. Tell me a better core in the NFL. Like there really isn't one.
No,
And
I mean that's
as an athlete, Brock Bowers is just so good.
No, he is so good. And that's so I because that's to the point. I actually had him even a little higher here than you did. But what's funny is I want to agree. I want to talk about this where it's like I couldn't have him any lower because his upside is like we're saying, it's like you watch him, you're like, oh my God, this guy's upside is so high. Especially where we're moving towards the era of the inline slot tight end, where you kind of are like more of a receiver than you are a tight end, but you're also just like chipping. You're kind of, you're just doing things at the line where it's kind of you're mixing the best of both worlds. We're moving much more towards that. So I had to have him higher. But I want to point out, like, there are certain things about Brock Bowers that do concern me, where it's like if he ends up not translating, I think we'll go back to like these are the reasons. And yeah, like you already narrowed it down 100% on his frame is not the biggest and best in the world. There actually are tight ends in this class where I love their frame a lot more. Right? Like even and even sometimes the way that they can use that frame on tape, you can see it. And then the things about Brock Bowers that really do concern me, the main two things. He's definitely not like the best blocker in the world. I mean, he really isn't. Like he's a solid blocker, but he's definitely nothing insane. And again, that can develop. That can really you can come into your own once you make it in the league, right? I'm not going to knock him too much, but the contested catch rate is only 22.2%. And for, in a league where you got to be able to win the catch point, you got to be able to, 22.2% is really nothing special at all. So those are the main things about him that do concern me. But everything else from especially the eye test perspective, the speed you're getting, like the athleticism at the position, there's no doubt. I mean, potentially a generational prospect. It's just, again, if he ends up not hitting, I think we can go back to those measurables and those statistics being like the main outliers that do concern you.
Right. And I think a lot of people will point to like Kyle Pitts. Like Kyle Pitts had a phenomenal rookie season, but they used, what was it, the seventh or eighth overall pick on him? Or was it even higher? I don't remember.
I think
It
it
was,
was. No, I actually believe it was actually. Hold on, because I don't. Even, I think it was actually, if I'm not mistaken, the fourth.
oh yeah, regardless, it was a top eight pick. And it
Yeah,
just really
fourth
hasn't worked.
overall.
It just really hasn't worked out like as you'd hoped. And maybe you can chalk that up to Art Smith and hopefully Zach Robinson is able to utilize him a little bit more. But that can scare a lot of teams away from taking a tight end this high.
No, absolutely. That's the thing is in terms of like value, taking a tight end this early is a little bit concerning.
Right. So our top 4 or 5 are basically the same. So at number 5, I have Joe Alt. You have Joe Alt at number 3. He, to me, is the best tackle prospect in this class because while Olu Fashanu may be a better pass blocker, while Talisa Fuaga may possibly be a better run blocker, Joe Alt is so good at everything that he does. It was watching his tape, I was like, okay, so what's wrong with this dude? Like what
Yeah,
does he do
no, like
bad? Like
no, exactly,
and
bro.
he would constantly overpower defenders. He's 6'8". He has a crazy base. It's really hard to knock him off his platform. And what I saw in his recovery was elite. Like if he gets beat, the way he recovers is so impressive. And for teams in the NFL that need a tackle, if Joe Alt is on the board, it is hard to see them passing up.
Well, no, yeah, I'm gonna go on my spiel real quick just because again, I got him a little higher, but we both feel pretty much the same way. Where it's like, in my opinion, I won't even say flawless because I'll say if I had to point out one thing about him, maybe again that isn't the best thing in the world. Sometimes if you can outspeed him off the edge, you can
Yeah.
definitely get pressure on that court. Like, that is definitely where I would like. I want to see him get a little quicker in that step. I want to see him maybe set a little deeper initially. Other than that, though, it's like he's fantastic. The way he long arms defenders, the way that
Bro,
he can take on
yes.
two guys at once. It's more that's the main thing that stands out to me about him is that he's such an intelligent tackle that you already can do so many things with him where you can kind of initially help the guard, give the guard a push, give a push for that guard on that test. So you set him to more to his inside shoulder. And then I also trust you enough to kick back out and still take on your edge. Like he's so athletic and so long that you can literally ask him to do literally from a literal sense more than you can ask a lot of other tackles to do. Like so pro ready. You have no doubt about the athleticism. It's like he's going to come in and be productive. Whether he's an all pro or not, it's like I can't speak to that. But you're getting a guy that has such a high floor that it's like I couldn't leave him out of my top 5. There was just zero doubt about it.
So Joe Alt is a Charger, basically. I just think it makes so much
Yeah,
sense with
basically,
Harbaugh there.
as the process moves more and more, bro. On it, I mean, I'm gonna say this. That's why I started valuing Joe out more than almost anybody in the class because it's like you're getting a certainty at a position where you need to have certainty. You need that blind side locked up. I mean, it's like it's a no brainer if he's available to you and you have the need.
Well, you were talking about those long arms, and that was what really like stood out to me is like he really keeps defenders at bay. Like if he locks in with his arms, like you are so far away from the quarterback at that point that it's like the play's dead. And I'm not making like a comp, but like with the way he holds defenders out, it reminds me of DeJuan Jones. Just like a massive individual just holding defenders not even close to the line of scrimmage because they can't even get close because his arms are so long.
No, no, and that's so. How about this? How about this? He's DeJuan Jones at his floor, and he's Joe Thomas at his ceiling. Is that a fair statement?
I mean, I think that's fair. I think that's why I have Joe Alt so high. Is like his floor is so high that it's like how is this guy not going to translate?
No, and that's what's funny is you remember last year back to we're gonna give DeJuan Jones a spotlight for a second because we have to. You and me were saying the whole
Bro,
process. We're
I couldn't
like,
understand
wait a
why he
minute.
kept falling.
when you watch the film and you break down the size, and it's like, yeah, the questions were only at that time. It's funny to know. It was like, oh, does he care more about basketball? Is he that serious
Who
about football?
cares? Who
But shit, even if that's the
cares?
case, and he's not, we saw how it already translates. So even with somebody that we had all these questions about, now we have someone we have none of those questions about, and it's like, yeah, I'm sorry, it's a no brainer to me.
The
It's
fact that he
simple.
fell so far was actually crazy. Because what he fall to the fourth?
Fourth round, criminal. But now the Browns have a starter that they're confident in for a while, and if you're a Browns fan, you gotta love it. So.
At number four, we had the same person. We got Malik Neighbors. What a stud!
This
I
was
was
great minds
watching him
think alike
kind
on
of
this one.
along with when I was watching my Jane Daniels tape, and I was just like, bro, it reminded me so much of DJ Moore. Like I know it's a lazy comp, but the way he just is able to break tackles and break away from defenders in such short distance, anybody could throw to this man and he would go for 1,000 yards.
No, but he's elite also in literally every measurable. I mean, he literally is elite in every measurable. 3.6 yards per route run. He's at a. I'll say this: the drop rate is not elite. That's the one measurable that's not elite. He does drop the ball 5% of the time, but there's a lot of college athletes that come in with about a 5 to below drop rate, and it ends up being you translate just fine. Like that's not. I'm not anything above like 6, 7. I start to get a little concerned, but 5 or below, we round down. I'm fine with that. 45.5% contested catch rate, pretty elite. And then his grade versus man coverage this year was also 91%. And it was evident when you watch him. I mean, it's like this guy can separate versus almost anybody. His release package in itself is so diverse. His ability to decelerate and then accelerate is like unmatched from any other receiver in this class. Him and Marv are very similar from that perspective, but Malik's ability to stack and then restack, I mean, it's just he is unbeatable. And to me, he's even better than that at Marv, where it's like, and that's why I want to be clear. I
Bro,
think
that
without spoiling
okay.
anything, we both are very high on Marv too, but this guy could be a better receiver than Marv in the league, and I have no doubt. Well,
Yeah.
I'm fine saying that because the more I watch him, it is real like, no, yeah, this guy is going to be special. It's just a matter of how him and Marv end up rounding out, like where the
That
landing spots go.
yeah. That was the funniest thing is like as a Bears fan, so many people want to trade the pick and take Marvin Harrison Jr. But I'm watching Malik Neighbors tape and I'm like, I mean, I think Marvin Harrison Jr. has the size, but the gap isn't that big. The gap between
From a route
Neighbors
running
and
perspective,
no, it's not
Neighbors
that
is a better route
big.
runner. I'm willing to say it straight up. Neighbors is a better route runner. That's the thing is Mars route tree might be a little bit more diverse, but I genuinely will say I do believe Malik Neighbors is a crispier route runner. I think he has a little bit more of a twitch when he's running the routes. It's just he has everything you want, but minus the fact that he's not 6'3", 6'4".
We've already revealed our threes. It's Joe Alt and Drake May. So let's just get right into the guy we were just talking about, Marvin Harrison Jr. I think why people have him ahead of Neighbors is because when you watch him, like his spectacular catch in traffic, just hands are like so next level. And it's a lazy comp, but just the way sometimes he'll go up and get balls is just like the way Justin Jefferson will go up and just snatch a ball out of the air. So I think that's why people have him. He makes more of those wow plays going up and grabbing the ball, and the 50-50 balls are more like 75-25, 80-20. So I think his translation to the league will be so seamless, similar to Malik Neighbors, but I don't think it's a gap where it's like Marvin Harrison Jr. has to be the number one. Like if your team already has a guy like that, Malik Neighbors may be the better option.
No, absolutely. And so like what I'll say like we agree completely. Like it's like the splash plays, the hands, his ability to literally box out anybody that's playing him one-on-one, it's just unmatched. Like he is the best at the catch point. He is one of the most elite prospects I've ever watched at the catch point where you're like, no, I mean if you play him one-on-one, it is really like good luck because he is going to find a way to get back into position and he's going to beat you at the catch point because how purely big he is, how smart he is, how well he tracks the ball in the air is also I'd say his number one thing. Like when you're watching Marv, especially this year with bad quarterback play, not to throw a slide at Kyle McCord, but it just was a huge decrease from what we saw with CJ. I mean, he was literally like tracking the ball for 15 yards midair, trying to figure out where to go, and he would still find a way to throw out that long arm, cut back in front, beat you at the catch point, and just basically just go. That's what I want to say too is he's not that same receiver after the catch, but it's like he's
No.
winning at the catch point every time.
Yeah, it's very impressive. I mean, At number one, we both have Caleb Williams. And the way I'm transitioning this is a lot of big boards have Marvin Harrison Jr. as the number one prospect. The reason I do not, and I'm interested to hear your reason as well, is because while, yes, I think Marvin Harrison Jr. has a very, very, very high ceiling, can be a top five, even top three receiver in the league, and his floor is so, 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 so high. I just think what Caleb Williams and his ceiling can be for a team will always supersede another position. Quarterback, if you have the highest ceiling, that is what matters. You saw the Colts take a home run shot on Anthony Richardson at 4 last year. And with the way he played and what the Colts were able to accomplish without him, look at what the Colts can be next year if he ends up being what everything they hope him to be. Caleb Williams can make every throw. He can run. He's elusive. He's not the biggest guy, but at the same time, like, how often do you come across a prospect like Caleb Williams? We see prospects like Marvin Harrison Jr. come along a lot more often. When you have like Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, like these guys, I know they aren't like coming out of college, maybe these type of prospects, but in terms of what their ceiling can be, they come out a lot more often than what Caleb Williams could be.
No, absolutely. And I think, you really, wasn't even thinking about this. I wasn't going to go on this rant at all until you just made me think of it, but you kind of made a light bulb go off in my head. Because this is what I think I really want to say before I even give my, initial like take on Caleb. Because everyone already knows how I feel about Caleb. But it's like, it's funny because last year in the process, right? Hearing rumblings, Anthony Richardson could go number, whatever, like 2 to 4 to 5, right? If it was like these same people that were hating on Caleb right now were to sit here and have watched every snap of Anthony Richardson's college career last year, it should be the opposite, where you're like, wait, this is the guy is going to go. And it's not, I love Anthony Richardson. I think he's a super high upside too. But it's like these questions that we have, it's literally more about like, it's the personality thing. I think that people were so high on Anthony Richardson's personality that you're like, no, like, we're going to excuse these other things. And he's going to grow because we have faith in him as a person. Whereas I think it's starting to shift where all these false narratives about Caleb are starting to like swirl crazy, where the average person is like out on him as a person because of all these things that are these labels he's being, that he's been given. But it's like, if you're watching just the film and we're not judging a book by its cover and we're just taking into account the talent, the arm angles, everything else that this man possesses, it's like you will not be able to go find me a prospect in any recent time that does anything similar to him. It's truly like he is a one of one from a college landscape. And if you watch it non-biasedly and you can't say that, you're honestly just being a hater. Because also, again, back to the point of, this is something that a lot of people are talking about recently, right? A lot of these college offenses are very much like it's not similar to the NFL much at all. Like, right, like so much USC tape is like things going completely out of awry, receivers breaking down their routes, not even knowing what they're supposed to do. And whose shoulders does it fall on to make the play? It's Caleb. Like, and none of those plays get talked about where everything's completely off structure and he still finds a way to make it work. It's always like, you know what I mean? It's like we're taking so many things that are like not happening in structure where Caleb's playing. I don't mean to sound disrespectful, but around talent that is nowhere near his level.
No.
So it's just like, that's like I said too. If you put Caleb on Alabama, he's throwing for 6,000 yards. I mean, it's like truly it would be unbelievable. And maybe that's a stretch a little bit. You get what I'm saying. And they're going undefeated. They're not. You get what I'm saying. It's like we're putting all these losses on Caleb Williams. Everyone always wants to go to, like, I was thinking about this morning, like the Tulane game last year. He lost. He put up so many yards. He played an amazing game. That'd be like saying the Patriots lost the Super Bowl to the Eagles because of Tom Brady. It's like, man, if you put up 500 yards and you still lose, sometimes it's not on you. It's the team itself isn't holding up their weight. Like there's a narrative around Caleb. Like, look at all these big games he lost. It's like all the times the defense allowed 30 plus, we're just not going to address it. Like, that makes zero sense.
Let me ask you this,
It's getting out of hand.
From a like pure athlete point of view or pure player point of view, what can Caleb Williams not do?
Well, that's the thing, is the only thing he doesn't do is sometimes he doesn't know when to just take his foot off the gas when he's pushing it too much. But then back to that point of he's pushing it too much because the talent around him is not the same level. And when you're a gamer like him and you say to yourself, well, my defense isn't doing shit, our offense isn't doing shit, I got to make a play. Like, that's the mindset you have sometimes. It's like, you know what? I got to step up and make a play. And sometimes it's going to look terrible, but at least I know you're trying to make a fucking play for your squad. Like, I do look at it like that genuinely when I'm watching Caleb tape.
That's why I get confused when people have like a Drake May ahead of Caleb Williams, because it's Caleb can do everything that Drake can do, but Drake cannot do things that Caleb can do. And I
It's not
feel
even
like,
close, to be honest. That's where it's getting
yeah,
disrespectful. It's like
it's not.
these analysts are trying to like make comparisons. It's like, dude, no.
Caleb by far, I hate the 1A, 1B combo too. Like Caleb is far and away one. I think there is like a smaller gap between Williams and May than there is Williams and Daniels. Like I think there's a big gap between like what Drake May can do compared to what Jaden Daniels can do because of the age, because of what he's been able to do. I believe Drake May had two better seasons in 2 years at North Carolina than Jaden Daniels. Um, Jaden Daniels had a better year in his final year at LSU, but Jaden Daniels is also a fifth year senior, So you can argue what you want. I just think it's really not an argument when you really look at like the logistics of what Caleb was put around and how he had to perform at a level that he did without all this NFL talent around him.
No, absolutely. And again, we're going to get him on an NFL offensive coordinator. He's been working with an NFL QB coach for, if I'm not mistaken, Baldy said the last 3 or 4 years. Like he's so pro ready from so many different angles, however you want to look at it. And there was one more thing I wanted to say, and I don't know how I'm blanking on
His
it. Give me one
processing is
second.
crazy.
No, it's like he gets knocked for all these dumb little things, but it's like again, he was playing in an RPO centric offense where we really did not get to see him even flourish or how we should. He didn't get to just like purely drop back a lot and really make things happen. It was literally like an RPO based offense. We did not even get to see him peaking out at his ceiling in terms of what he'll be able to do. Like there are so much I could go on for a while, but again, back to just like I'll say it like this is what I want to say. The Drake May, Caleb Williams floor is really probably not that far apart, but the ceiling is indefinitely way higher for Caleb. That's all there is to it.
Yep, 100%. Well, do you have any final comments on our top 15 big board, or are you ready to wrap it up?
I'm ready to wrap it up. But again, we'll have what is it? In 2 more weeks, we'll have our top 30 for everyone.
Yeah, so guys, we're gonna work on a top 30 board. Also, the combine starts on Thursday. The channel is gonna be live streaming as like a watch along. So if you kind of just want to watch the combine with some commentary, we're gonna be live streaming and just watching the whole thing. So as always, if you don't know ball and want to know ball, be sure to subscribe, leave a like, leave a comment, let us know who we missed on our board, who we had too high, who we had too low. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. We are growing this channel every day. We appreciate all of you guys.